This is our APUS history project on World War I and the breakdown of the Battlefield 1 trailer. In this breakdown, we are going to talk about the different weapons and vehicles used, and also discuss the historical accuracy of the trailer. So let's jump into it. As you can see, the German soldier is beating the living crap out of the British soldier's face with a weapon known as a trench club. These trench clubs were used in nighttime trench raids. These raids would involve one side crossing over the no man's land into the other side's trench and either injuring or killing as many people as they can. These were usually done stealthily, and that's why they were at night, because if you just see someone run across no man's land, they're going to get shot. As you can see on the British soldier's belt, he has an improvised anti-tank grenade known as a stick grenade. These stick grenades are just multiple taped grenades held together to create a bigger explosion, being able to detread tanks, or can be used to clear out the cab if they could get on top. Horses were used extensively by the Ottoman Empire to cross the vast deserts. They also were used for cavalry charges on the eastern and western fronts, but because of their lack of protection against the new weapons of modern warfare, they were used less and less as time went on. These balloons in the background are used as obstacles for low-flying planes to stop them from strafing the soldiers on the ground. Also, some balloons were used for recon, being the world's first generation of UAVs, or unmanned aerial vehicles. On the ground, while it may be hard to see, is an MG08. The barrel on each MG08 has a tube, and that tube is filled with water, cooling the barrel, allowing an enhanced fire rate and sustained fire by the Germans. The entrenching tool, or shovel if you don't want to call it a fancy name, was used for digging into trenches, but could also be used as a melee weapon. This triplane is known as a Fokker DR-1, and it is a German plane. It was most famously used by the Red Baron himself, Manfred von Richthofen. The crank that we see here is a starting crank that was used to start the tank again if the engine stopped. This is a British Mark IV. It was used by the British mainly, but this version was also used by the Germans, as seen here. While it was dangerous to anyone on the ground, it is also dangerous to the crew. Carbon monoxide would constantly poison the crew, and the crew would pass out at times. Also, the danger of being overrun was always there. The Mauser 1918 Petit Gewehr was the world's first anti-tank rifle. It was single shot, bolt action, and it fired 13.2mm rounds. The Lewis machine gun was gas-powered and used by the British. It was used on the back of aircraft as machine guns, but without the cooling shroud on the barrel. They were also used to bust the barrage balloons as seen earlier. Mustard gas, given this name from its smell of mustard and yellowish color, is extremely toxic. It would create blisters on the skin without breathing it in, and if it was breathed in, it would create blisters in the lungs as well. Mustard gas is also heavy for a gas and would lower into the trenches to cause more damage. It would penetrate clothing and even cause damage to those who were most protected. Speaking of protection, this is an armored soldier. While not many were produced, this is a real thing. Different steel plates were used as armor all around the body. Trench warfare was used as the main type of warfare. While this seems like an obvious thing to point out, people think it is a stupid thing that trench warfare was ever created. But it had to be used because of the change of weapons, so different tactics had to be used to counter them. The Flammenwerfer, or the flamethrower, was used to clear out trenches, but they had a gas tank on the back which could be shot, setting them up in flames. Armored trains were common and had artillery support, infantry, tanks, anti-tank weapons, and missiles that could be deployed to the battlefield, whether in support or troops on the ground. The Dreadnought class of battleships were large steel behemoth battleships with massive guns. The HMS Dreadnought of the British Navy had a total of 37 guns, both big and smaller. Artillery cannons were used as a counter to trench warfare. They could be outfitted with both explosive shells and chemical shells. Zeppelins were named after Count Ferdinand von Zeppelin. They were airships that were first used to carry civilians, but then became outfitted in the military for bombing. Just the sight and the propaganda that was spread by his speakers was enough to terrify the enemy. In conclusion, it appears DICE and EA did their research into the historical accuracy of their game. I mean, if we can do a history report on it, I guess it's pretty accurate. So thanks for watching, and don't forget the date, October 21st, for the release of this game.